new psychological study from the National Institute of Mental Health
This morning, along with his longtime psychiatrist.
The circle of depression is growing wider, broader.
15% of women suffer from this disorder.
Affecting over 20 million Americans.
Changes that have occurred in the brain.
Abnormalities in the neurotransmitters.
She's got a problem, they've got a drug.
6 million American kids take prescribed medication.
Psychiatric care.
But what if the criminal is mentally ill? The punishment, a form of aversion therapy.
10 minute cures on the show, but I want to
Seasonal affective disorder. Oppositional defiant disorder.
Schools criticized for over-system.
By not providing free medical aid for those with a mental illness, not only are we depriving them of basic human rights, but we are also not allowing them to medically progress. Yet the mentally ill are not the only victims. We are hurting society. Some negative societal impacts of mental illnesses going untreated is that it can raise crime and incarceration rates, which leads to increased prison populations.
People with severe mental illness used to be housed in state-run asylums. But in the 70s, most of those were closed down. Their doors simply flung open, their patients released. But to where? Many to the streets. And that often led into the hands of the law. So that hospitals were replaced by jails, and those who would have been patients are now inmates. We go deep inside one of the nation's largest prison systems to examine the criminalization of the mentally ill.
The whole arrest procedure was very demeaning. I was terrified. Nobody cared if I was terrified. I was treated like a horrible, horrible criminal. And here I was, a 52-year-old grandmother of 5.
People like Sheila who struggle with a mental illness all too often end up under the care of a warden instead of a doctor. And a prison cell is a far cry from a doctor's office.
Nobody cared about what was going on in here.
Our criminal justice system and our jails aren't set up, designed, or equipped to really provide treatment for individuals once they're incarcerated. Some folks who commit serious, crimes need to be incarcerated, and we know that. But for a lot of folks who are committing nonviolent misdemeanor offenses, statistics and my experience has showed that they're much better treated, and the prognosis is much better if we can get them treatment in the community as opposed to in the jail.
Nipping these problems in the bud will also help reduce the prisoner population in Michigan's jails by treating the underlying root cause of criminal behavior.
It's kind of common lore that the county jails are the largest mental health institutions in our state. And depending on the county jail, they'll tell you that there's sometimes approaching half of the population have some form of mental illness or substance abuse problem. And so therefore, these are people, a lot of them are in jail because their mental illness has caused them to commit some type of misdemeanor crime. A lot of times it's something as simple as loitering or creating a public nuisance. But because they're uncooperative, they keep getting extra sanctions imposed on them, and they may end up spending a long time in jail. And certainly when they're in jail, they're a vulnerable population. They're at risk for abuse from other prisoners, and they are also at risk because they're not getting mental health treatment.
Helpful to officers because a lot of these folks that we're diverting, the officer won't be seeing that person sort of cycle through the system.
We have to look at this population. We are not serving the mental health population appropriately because of the lack of places to put people and get help for people who have mental health issues. A lot of them have become criminalized and put in the jail.
Having a mental illness is the third main reason for homelessness in America. Currently, there are approximately 3 million people experiencing homelessness, and on an average night, there are approximately 665,000 people that will be on the streets.
Homelessness has become a part of the landscape in nearly every major city in America. But if you look closely at the individuals forced to live on the street, it's often more than just poverty at play.
No one knows exactly what percentage of the homeless suffer from mental illness. Some advocacy groups estimate the number could be as high as 80%. It's a sad reality that for many leads to eventual confrontations with the law.
This week, currently homeless men spoke about how mental illness is a factor in their homelessness. Dr. Martin Brown of Inova Alexandria Hospital says someone like David, who was diagnosed with schizophrenia, faces a unique set of challenges.
That makes it difficult for them to pay their own bills, keep focused on a task, develop reasonable relationships, and have reasonable interpersonal skills, which contributes to the homelessness. Disabled mentally, often physically, and their psychological makeup is such that with the resources available in our society currently, they can't get it together.
You know, my ultimate goal is to end homelessness. There's no reason why we can't tackle that, why we can't guarantee that everyone in this country has a roof over their head. We know it works. We just have to do it.
There are approximately 2.5 million people that suffer from a mental illness that are untreated and receive no medical aid. Some of these people are ending up in jail or become homeless. By providing medical aid to those suffering, we can prevent many societal problems. We claim that homelessness is a social issue. We have the power to stop it. We have the power to help suffering people. By affording aid to people with mental illnesses, we can in turn help everyone. We help the taxpayers because we are lowering prison populations. We are helping police officers and community members by helping raise the community quality of life. And we are helping the sick find the help and medical aid they need in order to function within our society. We accept physical illnesses under all medical insurance plans. Walk-in clinics help with everything from the common cold to sexually transmitted diseases, but we are not helping people with illnesses that they were born with. A mental illness is a real illness, and it deserves the same medical aid and attention as all other illnesses.